So my flight to London, Amsterdam, and Iceland was $438. I took a round trip flight just to London for $430. Amsterdam alone, $438, and for an additional $120, I'll be in Naples. I booked a flight to Providence, Rhode Island for $108. I've booked 2 separate trips to Vegas for $300 and for $500. I was hurt over that $500 one, but we'll get to that. Booked a flight round trip to Tampa for $88, from Athens to Mykonos for $50, from Iceland, Paris to Athens for $450. Round trip. Let's talk about how to book cheap flights, you guys. Hey guys, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone in the McMafia is doing well. If you are not a part of the McMafia, guarantee by the end of this video, you will be. So in this community here on this channel, we love to travel, and we love to travel affordably, comfortably, and within our budgets. Let's be serious. We're not spending all this crazy money just to travel. You don't have to. I promise you that. So today I am back again with another tips and tricks video related to travel, specifically related to how I afford to travel, which is by booking cheap flights. I don't take a trip if I can't afford it, and I don't take a trip if the flight is expensive. So we're gonna go over all the steps that I take when I have a trip that's in mind. These are really key factors, everything that I consider before booking a flight and making sure that I've gotten the cheapest, lowest price possible. So let's get started. Very first step when I have a trip in mind, I start to save for it. You have to have the funds to travel. Yes, we can travel affordably, but traveling is not free. Personally, when I know that I have a trip coming up, or I know that I want to book a trip, I stop eating out as often. I stop going out and having drinks as often. Creating those memories and being able to travel is more important to me than those things, so I really just cut back completely. My biggest vice is going to eat out at lunch, so I definitely will buckle down, get the groceries going, get the groceries delivered to my house, another video that's gonna come up. I found that when I spend money on travel and things that actually turn into experiences, I feel a lot better about that money that's spent, so I cut out all the things that I don't feel that are worth it. Super, super simple if you actually look at what you're spending your money on. Budget. Budget for the wanderlust. Step 1. Gather those funds. And this is super important when it comes to your ability to book a flight on a dime. If you don't have any dimes, you can't book a flight on a dime. So I like to have a nice little travel fund that I keep in a different savings account than my normal savings account, which is my emergency fund, just so that I know the second I see a flight, I am ready to book. And we'll get into that in just a second. So step number 2. I have all of my funds from step number 1, and step number 2 is kind of coming up with the location of where I want to go. Once I kind of settle on a location, I will specifically look up the tourist season in that country, that state, that city, that place. And this step is very important because wherever you're traveling, it's gonna be more expensive during their high tourist season. The hotels are gonna be more expensive, the flights are surely gonna be more expensive. Pretty much everything's gonna be more expensive during tourist season, and personally for me, I'm not a person that likes crowds. I like to be able to explore a city openly and not have to be sitting in lines at places if I'm going to a museum or some kind of attraction. So typically I will book at the beginning, towards the beginning of a tourist season, or towards the end of a tourist season. And also, usually, tourist season will coincide with good weather. You don't want to go to a place and not be able to enjoy it unless you like rain and thunderstorms and tornadoes or hurricanes, then good for you, but I do not. I like great weather. So usually tourist season will coincide with good weather. I tend to really enjoy the trips that are in the beginning of tourist season because it seems like the city itself or the country that you're in is like excited for people to be there. So you usually get like better service. You can really have some wiggle room when it comes to booking accommodations. I'm gonna do a whole other video on accommodations, so don't you worry about it. But usually just the vibe of the city is a little bit better in the beginning of tourist season versus the end, because that's usually when like shops are trying to close up and they're tired from a long summer. So service is usually better in the beginning, and that's also a great time to consider. So once I have the location, I know what tourist season time is for that country or that place. I'll specifically look at any observations for traditional cultural experiences that are happening, or holidays, religious festivals, things like that. One, because that'll help you gauge what the crowds are going to be like at that time. And that could go either one way or another, because sometimes when you go to a city during a time of a religious holiday, you may have a lot of closures happening, a lot of restaurants, there may be changes in the times when they're open. So it's definitely something to look out for. And also it could be the opposite. Instead of it being super empty, it could be crazy crowded and you not expect it. Not only will this help you with being able to gauge what the vibe might be like of that place, but it also will help you with understanding what that culture is of that time and whether you should be appropriately dressed or change the way that you function in that country, because we have to be respectful of other people's cultures. Very, very important. So, quick recap of step number 2, I will look at the tourist season once I have a location, and I will also search for any religious holidays, religious festivals, overall cultural traditions that may increase or decrease the happenings of that place. So step number 3, once I have a time frame of knowing when I want to go, usually I will set that at about a 2 to 3 month time frame, anywhere in between there. Super flexible. Flexibility is the name of the game when it comes to travel when you're looking to do it affordably and on a budget. The best part about giving yourself a timeline of 2 to 3 months is you can be free to kind of plan it out. Plan it around your work schedule, plan around your personal schedule, and then have your travel fit into your plans. Sometimes, if you're desperate and you just need to go right now, that's a whole different thing. We're talking about planning here. And during that 2 to 3 month time frame, you're also gonna see drastic price fluctuations. Play with the dates. My favorite booking, and it kind of just works out for me as far as like getting the most days in that I don't have to be at work, so I can take less PTO and less annual leave, if you know what I'm saying here. My typical trips are gonna last from a Wednesday night or a Thursday night flight till that next Wednesday or Thursday. Like a full 7 days is what I like to get in there. And we'll talk about time frames as well in just a second. But anytime that's booked during the week is a whole lot cheaper than booking a flight on the weekends. Everybody wants to travel on the weekend because you're off work. But when it's a little bit more inconvenient for you is when it's gonna be convenient for your wallet. Remember that. That was a good one, I like that. So step number 4, once I have my time frame set, I check flights, coming closely now, every day, every single day. Let's say it for the people in the back. Every single day. I do not play when it comes to looking for price fluctuations, and I will get a nice little vibe throughout the week of what flights are looking like at that time. Let's say we're going to Paris. You look on a Tuesday morning and the flight is $528. You look again on Wednesday, the flight is $448. You look 2 weeks from then after looking every single day, and I promise you, you will start to see price fluctuations, and they happen by the day. I remember planning our trip to Greece, and I will put the cards here so you can see our trip to Mykonos. And I was so serious, so determined to find flights to get us to Athens from DC for under $500, I swear, every single day. And I kid you not, when I first started looking at flights to Athens, they started at $800. $800. And because I was patient and I checked like a crackhead, every single day we were able to book flights for $450 round trip to Athens, Greece. I'm serious. This, of all the tips, of everything that I've already talked about so far, checking every day and being consistent with that, I'm telling you, do it. It makes a difference. So I keep saying over and over again, check every day, and you're like, Kelly, where do you check? Personally, I like kayak.com/explore. It's called the Explore tool, and it's basically like a map of the whole world, and it has all these little flags on it, and you can set the time frame. You can set like summer 2019 or summer 2020, fall 2018, whatever you want to do. Well, you can't go back in time, so we can't go back to 2018. But you get what I'm saying. So all these little flags will pop up, and you can select and see what flights are what prices. It's amazing. And when I'm not using the Explorer tool, kayak.com, just straight up, it seems to be the best that I've seen so far as finding cheaper flights. I recently actually just found a flight that we're taking pretty soon in about 2 weeks. I cannot wait, on Expedia. So I'll have to do a little bit more research with that. I've only booked it once, but it seemed to work out really well. But Kayak is definitely the #1. Also, an app that I like to use that I check every day. It's called Hopper. I will put up the little logo right here for you so when you search it on your little iTunes app store that you can find it. So a coworker actually told me about this app who travels quite often. I mean, she travels like way more than I do. Like, y'all think I travel, like, meet her and you'll be like, oh, okay. So she told me about the Hopper app, and it's basically a flight alert app called Hopper, and it has like a little bunny on it and just hops around your screen, and it's like finding you flights. And that seems to really work out well. I will say that when I've used the Hopper app, let's say a trip pops up that's cheap for like United Airlines or something, I will go to actual United Airlines website themselves and not book through the app. I haven't tried it. I found cheaper prices on the actual website versus booking through the third-party app. So there's a tip there when using Hopper. So another part of this like fourth step here kind of ties back into number one, and that was talking about having those funds available. So let's say you've been super diligent, you've been checking every day for weeks and weeks and weeks, and that same flight that you've been looking at has been fluctuating between, let's go back to Paris. It's been fluctuating between $448 and $526. But one day it was $338 and you kind of let it pass and you're like, I think it could get better. It's gonna dip back down. Trust me, hold on. Just hold on. It will dip back down. The lowest price that you see could go lower. But if you don't want to gamble, you don't want to wait, that's all about being flexible. That piece is being flexible, because you can be like, all right, I'm flexible with my dates, I'll just wait a little bit longer. But if you don't want to take that gamble, the lowest price you see, go ahead and click that link, hit book, do what you need to do, and please have a valid passport. That should have been step number one, like number one, like negative one, is like have a passport so you can leave whatever country you're in. So once you find that magical flight for that magical price, go ahead and book it immediately. Personally, I am a fan of overnight flights. I think it helps a lot with any kind of jet lag that you may suffer from. And maybe it's just me, but I'd be tricking my mind. Usually I will take a flight, like I said, Wednesday. I like to book Wednesday night or Thursday night flights because I like to land in my location by Friday so that I can go out and do something fun. But typically overnight flights just seem to help me a lot. Usually around like an 8:30 p.m. flight, and you land around like 7 or 8 a.m. depending on where you're going, obviously. Most of my flights are about 10 to 11 hours. I will set myself up for sleep at 9:30, 10 o'clock, the time that I usually sleep, and then I will just go to sleep, trick myself in my mind, and think, hey, when I wake up, I got a full night's rest. Sometimes it doesn't work, most times it does. I will also be having a airplane routine video coming up soon. I'm excited for that one. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I get comfortable for optimal sleep on a plane, because trust me, it's really not that easy. It's not easy. So tip number 5, when you see that price, slow down. I know in my last tip I did say go ahead and immediately book it, but slow down and make sure you read the fine print. So let's say your base price was $350. How much is your checked bag that you're going to be bringing? I personally fly with just a carry-on, so I don't have to worry about checked bags, but look at those prices, because just because you see that exact great price. So a second piece to looking at fees that could be incurred is paying for your seat. When you are booking through a third-party site like Kayak, you may or may not be redirected to the actual airline. And that's also very, very nice when you are, because then you know exactly what you're getting and you don't have to do any guesswork and go to the airline's website after you've booked on kayak.com. So once you've started the booking process, it will often ask you for your seat assignment. Just a personal rule of thumb for me and my husband when we travel, if it's a flight that's like 3 hours long, it's kind of like a second leg flight, we most likely won't book seat assignments, and we'll just kind of let the airline do it. Freedom. If we get sat next to each other, then that's okay. If we don't get sat next to each other, that's also okay. For long haul flights, we will definitely, we want to sit next to each other because we know we're gonna knock out sleep, and you don't want to be sleeping on a stranger's shoulder. But if it's a shorter flight, then I'm like kind of like, oh, we don't mind. We'll just watch videos, you know, separately, movies, whatever. But that is something to keep in mind when you're traveling, especially if you're traveling solo, unless, let's just say unless it's twice. If you're traveling solo and don't really care where you sit, I highly suggest that you just skip it. Like sometimes it's up to $35, $55 for a seat, and we're keeping your expenses low here. So just opt out, and who knows, you might get lucky and get sat in like business, because that's like the last seat available if it's just you. And for couples that are traveling, I've also noticed that I think we've only been on one flight out of all the trips we've ever taken that they haven't sat us next to each other, because often it's only one of us booking. Like I will book the flights and put both of our names on there. So most airlines are pretty good about putting those people together that are clearly in a small group. But if you want to take that chance and be sat on a longer flight, it is all up to you, but that is a great way to save money. Just let them randomly assign you a seat. If you're one of those people that has to be in an aisle seat because of whatever reasons you got going on, definitely do that. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. But just a small money saving tip, let the airplane seat you where you don't sit. Okay? Another piece to pay attention to, and this is not so much as far as the expenses are concerned, but if the plane has food service, especially if it's like an overnight service, you're gonna get some dinner, you're gonna get some breakfast. Sometimes when it comes to airlines, you can make your selection for dinner before the flight itself, and I highly suggest doing that, because if not, then you'll get left with whatever things that are left on the plane. So make sure you make your food selections when you are actually booking your travel. And if food costs money, then that's another expense to consider on top of your cheap price. How much is the food? Are you gonna bring your own food? That's a cost savings. Come on, bring your own food. All right guys, so I feel like when I do videos where I'm like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, I forget how many steps I ended up with, so maybe my numbers were right this time, but we're gonna do a review. So step 1, make sure you have all of your money. Gather all of your funds, budget, cut out those expenses that you don't really need. I promise you can afford to travel if you have a job. If you don't have a job, then you should Uber or something. Anyway, set aside those funds. Step number 2, once you have a location in mind, look up their tourist season and also their cultural traditional season. Do they have any religious events coming up? Can you wear certain clothing during that time? Very important to respect culture. Step number 3, once you have your time frame, be very flexible with your dates. Take off during the week. So much cheaper during the week than during the weekend. If you absolutely have to, look at super early flights. Think, if it is inconvenient for you, it is convenient for your wallet. McMafia, yes, that is so good. All right, step 4, search every day. I kid you not, you just have to be a crackhead for that travel. Chase after travel. Chase it, check every day. And if you made it to this portion of the video, I'm gonna give you another tidbit that I did not mention earlier, as far as what days to check specifically. Get really ready and just be a crackhead for it. On Tuesday. This is my years of research. Tuesday seems to be the best day for cheap flights. The weekends, they know you're looking. They know you're looking because everybody else is looking. So make sure that you're looking during the week, specifically on Tuesday and also Wednesday. Those seem to be the greatest days. I literally went through my Gmail. I have one Gmail account that I do all of our travel through, and I looked at the dates when I booked, and a majority, I mean the last several years, were Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And another tip for those who are still with me here, especially my McMafia, I know y'all are still here. Google Chrome. Do you guys know about the incognito? The incognito mode? It's basically like this mode that doesn't track your history and doesn't tell the website about cookies and other things like that. I'm not technical, so I don't know exactly what it does. But basically, when you're going onto websites, they're tracking how many times you've been there, what time you've been there. And when you're especially looking at airplane booking travel websites, they know you're coming there. And they can have the ability, not saying that they do, but they can have the ability to change the price just for you, because they know that you've been there and they know that you'll be back. So incognito, it's kind of cool. It's like this like black screen when you see it, and you can go into your settings. If you need specific instructions, I can put them down below. Just let me know. But another tidbit for you guys, for all of those who are still watching, you're welcome. And last but not least, tip number 5, which has like multiple parts to it, make sure you check the price and all incurring fees. Is that price just for the flight itself? Does it include checked baggage if you want to? Do they charge you for carry-on bags? That's also a thing, unfortunately. Not all airlines will give you a free checked bag. Excuse me, a free carry-on. And sometimes, especially European flights, I have noticed that they will charge you like per pound. So if you have one that's a little bit heavier or there's a restriction on the poundage, that's when they'll charge you for a carry-on most likely. And also most likely, just a hint there, that if you're charging you for a carry-on, you probably are going to be on a smaller plane, just for that like mental game, you know? Sometimes you get to the airport and it's like, who's taking that plane? Is that a private jet? Because plane is tiny. Anyway, third thing that has to go along with that is food selections. Make sure to make your food selections ahead of time if you have the ability to do so, to guarantee that you're gonna have that yummy chicken dish. And guess what, you guys? I have a secret tip number 6. This is something that I personally stand by. It's worked for me pretty much every time. It goes along with being flexible, but tip number 6. Let's say, once again, we're going to Nice, France. We are trying to get there. That is our spot. We are trying to be living lavish, trying to be living luxury, but we're also trying to get there affordably. All major hub airports are going to be more lax with their prices. They're going to be more affordable than smaller airports. Yes, let's say Nice, France has like an amazing airport. May or may not be international, but I guarantee you there's another close airport there. Even if it's within an hour or 2, it's worth it sometimes, guys, for the extra. So if I was going to go anywhere in France, I'm probably going to fly into Paris. If I'm going anywhere in Germany, I'm flying into Berlin. If I'm going anywhere in London, the UK, I'm gonna fly into either Gatwick, Heathrow, those international airports. If I'm going to Greece, I'm probably gonna fly into Athens. Do you feel what I'm saying here? Major airports, and then once you're there, once you're in the country, guaranteed, I'm not saying wait, don't wait to book the flight when you get into the country, but before, book your flight to the major hub and then look for like international flights within the country, the continent that you're going to. Guarantee it's going to be so much cheaper. This is true for Africa, this is true for Europe, this is true for Asia. Once you get there, I don't know what it is about America, you guys. I'm in America right now. It's expensive to go from state to state. It's extremely expensive. That is not that way in other countries. Once you get into that continent, then you can free flow wherever you need to go. It might as well be free because I've booked flights from anywhere as low as $15 to as high as like $50. And you're like, Kelly, as high as $50? And I'm like, no, yeah, really. Went from Paris to Athens for like 50 bucks. Like, that's nothing. So, major hubs to get you there. All you gotta do is get close, you guys. Just get close and then find a little shorter, smaller flight that'll get you to your local place of where you're trying to go. I hope you enjoyed this, you guys. That is like, I'm telling you, that is my go-to. Like, that tip number 6 is my go-to. It has saved us so much money in traveling, and I keep going in between us and me. I don't travel solo. I travel with my husband, and it makes for great memories. You can afford to travel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you guys have some other tips out there that have worked for you. Let's start the thread down below and share with each other in this travel community. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you in my next video. If you have any other suggestions, as always, please comment that down below. Thanks to the McMafia. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not a part of it. I will see you next time in the next video. Bye.